To start, as a past winner, you immediately go into a game like this with a target on your back. And then on top of that, you're introduced as one of the Cage Boys. I would love to know how that altered your game strategy going in and why there seemed to be more focus on those in the Coffin rather than the Cage Boys.
First one to ask me that question the right way today. You. Yeah, obviously coming in the cage, there was an immediate target on our backs. It wasn't the best situation. There's some logistical things that made us have to come in late, but
Mm,
it's better late than never, right? But I'm so glad you asked it that way because there are a lot of people who are like, Derrick, why did you go after Sierra? Wes, why did you go after Nikki? We had a huge target on our back. They didn't show a ton of it, but everyone was like, one of these three are a traitor. When the coffins happened, that was a gift from the gods for me as a strategist, because what it allowed us to do was divert the attention to the coffin queens, as I was referring to them. And they didn't put that in the show. I thought it was a great name, but I wanted the attention to be on the coffin queens. So you see me go after Sierra, and I really don't have a compelling argument against her because I don't even know if she's a traitor, but I didn't care. At that point, I wanted people basically hypothesizing about the Coffin Queens and one of them being a traitor as opposed to the Cage Boys. And it worked. It worked. So that was by design. And I think that was a combination of Rob, Wes, and myself all individually pushing that narrative to take the attention
mm.
off.
That was a smart game move. Also, Coffin Queens is a great name. And that
Isn't it
mission,
great? How
yeah,
does it
they
have
should
to
have used that.
go? Maybe it's trademarked. Maybe it's trademarked. But yeah, we had to do that to them. I love Sierra. I love Nikki. And I had a better relationship with Nikki. We talked more about our kids. But Sierra, I said she
Mm.
swore a lot. Well, I think I swore the most in the show or close to it. But it's one of those things where I didn't care. As long as they were talking about her instead of me, I was happy.
Great point. And that mission leading up to your murder, you said you wanted to go for the shield because you wanted to make a big move. What was the thought process behind not waiting for another roundtable when you did have a shield? Did you make that plea to
Yeah.
Carolyn? Because I feel like that may have swayed her in the other direction to give it to you.
There were some variables that I wasn't aware of at that roundtable. If anything, I waited too long because Rob was
Hmm.
going after the independent thinkers, starting with Dorinda, which he wasn't involved with, but Bob the drag queen, Tony, Jeremy, all the people that would have pushed back on him and saw what he was doing. And if anything, if I did it sooner, more of those people would have still been in the game. I didn't talk to Carolyn much throughout the season. There's not a lot of time to talk. But one thing I didn't know was that her and Danielle were fighting. And because they were fighting, Carolyn voted for Danielle instead of Rob, like she did the next night. So that variable would have made it a tie vote. The fact that Wes didn't anticipate how he was going to be attacked that night, and his defense was, not the best, right? He
Yeah.
kind of came back with people. That was a variable I couldn't anticipate. And then I really thought that Brittany and Dylan would vote based on logic, and I didn't realize that they were voting more on emotion. Brittany didn't like Wes, and Dylan was in love with Rob. So those are variables you can't control. They would have been true as much the next day as they were that day. And unfortunately, I think my murder is what really sunk Rob's ship.
That's perfect. Think about this next question that I have for you. But you've always been such a calculated player. And at the roundtable that you went for Boston, Rob, I know you must have thought you had the numbers. Whose vote were you most surprised swayed the other way?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what I just said. I mean, well, first and foremost, if you remember the episode before, I was looking for a cue that people were starting to be on to Rob. I didn't want to be the headliner. I didn't. If you remember
Mm.
the roundtable before, who was going or who mentioned Rob? Ivor and Sam. In fact, Sam said, if you're still here tomorrow, I'm looking at you. So I talked to them. You see a little bit of it in the show. I said, hey, what you guys thought of last night? It's really good. There was no mention of Wes. So I thought I had those two. And I thought before our interaction, I had Brittany as well, and maybe Dylan. And obviously, I didn't have those two. But again, I only needed one more. It was 7-5. One vote, we go to a tie. And at that point, I go all in and really try to sell it. And I think I would have gotten it done, but unfortunately, we'll never know.
You also
It
brought
would have
up
been
a
a great, it would have been a great debate between me and Rob, though, for that final tiebreaker. That would have been good TV.
yeah, we also haven't seen a tiebreaker yet on this show. And you
Need
brought up
it.
this really great point about emotion versus objectivity and how much of that is influenced by the fact that you have players who have experiences in these games versus those who do not.
Great point. Wow, you're good at this. Great point. Yeah, I mean, you're playing with people who don't necessarily play games. They don't know how to separate their emotion from what's right in front of them. And that's not really something I'm going to be able to change in a day of filming. It's just not going to happen. There's people in there, the Bravo people, they're going to vote the way they want to vote. They're not going to be told what to do. They're strong, independent people. They've been on TV way longer than me, and they're going to vote with their gut. That's how they're going to vote. There were people like Brittany, who's a former gamer, who I thought would separate the two. Dylan initially gave the impression that he was going to be that person as well, but he just had a soft spot for Rob. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate, but all I can do is control what I say. And I presented, I thought, a pretty solid case, including Rob's origin story. There
Hmm.
was nothing else in the tank. I gave them all the information. It was just as true when I said it as it was the next day when they voted Rob out. So I think it's just about timing and a little bit of luck.
You brought up a great point about kind of Rob's backstory. And also, it's frustrating for people that love these kind of reality shows and these strategy games to watch all these rogue votes happen throughout the round
Yes.
table.
There should be a penalty for it. There should be a
Yeah,
penalty.
there really should
There should
be.
be an incentive for getting the vote right. Like if
Hmm.
you put them out for the people who got it wrong, there should be some type of penalty. Tony's brought this up in previous interviews. You got to keep people on track because you have people voting for others who they know aren't going to go home.
Yeah.
It does create some good TV because there could be that rogue vote who's spot on and just nobody believes them. So there's pros and cons to it. I mean, Traitors is doing a great job. I love the show, and honestly, going up against a legend like Rob for myself, this is my second show. Rob's been on like 10, 15 shows. We've talked a lot. We're friends now. I feel like I held my own. He has a respect for me. I have a respect for him. So even though it didn't work out for me, it's funny. I enjoyed this almost more than I enjoyed playing Big Brother.
We need you on another. In a hypothetical world where you weren't murdered that night, does
Yeah,
that raise your suspicion on Rob, or would you have shifted your attention over to Brittany?
100% going for Rob. The only reason I brought up Brittany was because I realized she was a solid vote for him. And I did at that moment based on her behavior throughout the day think
Hmm.
she's a traitor. But the reason I posed that scenario to Dylan at the end of the episode is because you know how you get a person to stop defending another person by turning them against each other. So by me saying it's Brittany and Rob, if I can get them both at the round table and now their names are both out there, Brittany has to worry about defending herself, not Rob. And it's funny because that was the intent. It didn't work by design, but it ultimately did come to fruition where Brittany and Rob were the two
Yeah.
going at each other, which was one less vote for Rob. So it did work out, not the way that I had planned. I would have liked it for me to be there to witness it. But going throwing them both under the bus was basically saying, hey, I'm certain Rob's a traitor. Brittany, you could be, but either way, now you got to worry about protecting yourself. No more, advocating for Boss and Rob at the round table.
I think your murder set a catalyst for the faithfuls to really go after the traitor. So
That was
even
it.
if, yeah, even if you're not being in the game, you're still having that impact. And you and Danielle had an alliance, but she
Yeah.
was also part of your murder. First, what was your reaction when you found out that she was a traitor? And do you think that was a good or a bad game move on her part?
Well, first off, for most of the season, I'm on the fence about her being a traitor because of the riddle competition. She was doing a lot of things that were out of character, but we were also having a lot of personal conversations off record that I felt like we were on the same page. I've been wanting to play with her for 10 years. Um, it wasn't until episode 6 when I kind of shifted gears and thought, oh my God, I've been wrong this whole time. It's not Danielle, it's Brittany, right? Because of what Brittany had done that day, I thought she maybe showed a little too much of her cards. But yeah, I mean, listen, first off, we're still all friends. I have no issue with any of them. And looking at how it played out, Danielle made the right move, right? She gave me up, lowered Rob's guard. He didn't go after Danielle that night, and he got sent home. And Danielle
Mm,
voted for him again. She did that after voting for him the night before. So hats off to her. Fair play. She's still in the game. She's still playing. So you got to make sacrifices. And I know she was concerned about how I would feel the minute I got murdered. I'm okay with it. It is a
yeah.
game. I went there to play the game, to go after traitors. My measure for success wasn't making it far. I thought I was going to be out after night 1. So to make it as far as I did and to go out the way I did, I was content. I was happy with my performance.
There's a gamesmanship that players who have experience in these games bring to shows like this that are really compelling to watch. I think I have time for one more question, but I think one of the reasons I think this show has been so successful is that the creative team pays attention to those online discussions to see who audiences want to see compete. From your respective franchise, who do you want to see in a future season and why?
Oh man, there's so many people that are going to be mad at me if I don't say them. So I'm just going to go with people that I'm close with. Tiffany Mitchell from Big Brother would be great. I also think because the franchise is getting so big that it's going to expand a lot more. By the way, justice for Frankie Grande. I want to see Frankie Grande on there as well. But no, I think at this point now they can expand to all different genres. Love Island, all these other shows that are out there. I mean the pool of people is limitless, and it's only going to get better from here because the more people you have from different walks of life, you think about it. You got Bob the drag queen going at Boston Rob. When did you think you'd ever be saying that in a sentence? So it's a great opportunity. I mean, for me personally, getting the opportunity to play with greats, that winners, right? Legends like Tony, Jeremy, Boston Rob, Wes. I mean, these are legends. Danielle, absolute legends. And to say that I played a game against them, you couldn't do that anywhere else but Traitors. And that's why this show is so successful.
You're also a legend. Hopefully, we'll get to see you on our screens again, see you
10 years.
compete.
I'll be back in 10 years.
No, don't make it 10 years. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Congratulations again on
Thank
a
you for having me.
fantastic. Yeah, enjoy the
Great
rest of your
interview.
president.
Great questions, by the way.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of all of these like reality shows, so
You
excited
know
to
your
chat with
stuff.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I like
Yeah.
when people go into the meta, so thank you very much.